what was going on, because you wanted the baddest chicks in the land. I could see it, but apparently you didn't know.
I did not. I also realized as I was working with Jay Lopez that I told him, I feel like I need you to be mean to me. Like I need you to be an enemy so that I can attack this weight loss thing. He's like, what? I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, but like in the past, the reason why I built this 7-figure law firm is because some guy told me I couldn't do it. So I almost like needed a toxic catalyst to start me on the journey, because I'm like, I got to have an enemy. I have to be perfect and I have to show people that I am worthy to serve them. And so I had placed this huge burden on myself so that if I deviated, if I failed, it was just, I beat up on myself so much about it. And it was very, very, very suffocating. I was battling with comparison with other attorneys. And I was like, God, why is it that this person seems to have this following and this is happening with them? I don't know why I'm comparing myself. He said, you comparing yourself because you ain't clear. Like I was holding myself to these impossible standards. And so I'm thinking, I can't make a mistake. I have to do everything perfectly.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Welcome to the Pay Raise Playbook, where we assist you in getting to the next level personally and professionally by sharing insight with you so you can have the courage and clarity to stop avoiding the hard things and take the actions that scare you. While you're here, go ahead and like and subscribe to this podcast because I am sure you're going to love it. Let's go ahead and get started.
Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome to Money Loves Happy People. I'm your host, Christy Rutherford, and today we're going to be talking to Tikora Davis, Esquire, one of the baddest trademark attorneys in the land.
Awesome.
So Attorney Davis founded the Creators Law Firm to empower, protect, and advance creative CEOs and founders in their legacy-driven call to entrepreneurship. The Creators Law Firm also revolutionized work culture for women by creating a global model for work-life blend and team building. Her Smarts Protection team of savvy attorneys and advocates are the premier choice. They are for trademarks, general counsel, contracts, business formation, and strategy. She got her JD from the Charlotte School of Law, and then she got her bachelor's in biological sciences from North Carolina State University. She has been awarded the North Carolina Legal Elite 2018, 2020, 2021, and 2022, Forbes Next 1000, 2021 Law Firm 500 Award, Law People USA, the Lawyer Award, honorable mention, 2022, Super Lawyers Rising Star 2022, 2023, and 2024. Oh, I'm going to read all of them.
I know you are.
Wait, there was a page that talked about how many, hold on, let me back up.
Trademarks.
Yep. So she has filed over 1,200 trademarks, 6 years of serving legacy-driven entrepreneurs, and she has a 98.5% registered trademark success. I, Christy Rutherford, have four trademarks, 2 that have been approved, 1, Vigifana Masterclass.
It's a lot. Oh, yeah.
But we got 3 more coming. So welcome to Tikora Davis.
Yes, you're welcome. Well, thank you for having me. And just a slight correction, this is 7 years and over about 1,400 trademarks now. So my apologies. I need to update that on my website. And I appreciate you reminding me of all the amazing things that I've done. I'm like, okay,
of course.
That did happen.
I think it's some more. Weren't you like it was like some more stuff that ain't on the website.
Oh yeah, like Law Firm 500. Yeah. So, in a couple years ago, one of the fastest growing law firms. So yeah, it's blessings on blessings. So yeah,
Tory Burch Fellow, all that.
Yep.
Weren't you like the Inc. 500 or the something fastest growing? Blah blah blah.
It's called Law Firm 500. So yeah,
okay.
The 11th fastest growing law firm in the country.
Was that on there? Oh no, that wasn't on there.
It's if you scroll up, like underneath that video, it's right there. So it's in that light blue area. Should be right there.
We're going to scroll for days to talk about how great Ticora is. So Ticora. All right. So I don't even know if we ever met. Well, we met in person in January, but before that, so we've been acquainted for years.
Yes.
Right. And because you've done, our trademarks, and we've had other conversations, and I used to see Ticora online. Like whenever somebody had a question about trademarks, they would tag Ticora and she would jump in. That would be Ariane Long with Finley. Ariane would be like, oh, Ticora does such and such. She's the best. And Ticora jump in and then she'll, leave her comments or whatever. And then anytime somebody has some questions about trademarks or whatever, some violations or whatever random stuff that be going on Facebook, because there's always something going on.
Right.
They would always tag Tikora, and she would jump in with like the legal explanation of what was going on. I'm like, this lady's impressive. So they were my coach. Marquel brought you to our group and you started talking about it. I'm like, well, I guess, you know, we further enough in the game now with Vision Finder Masterclass. I changed the name of the business 8 times, legit, over the past 10 years, but we're further enough along that now I need to protect it. So, but then you started working with us, Black Girl Magic. So what was going on? So we're going to talk about both parts, like, you know, what was going on, because you wanted the baddest chicks in the land. I could see it, but apparently you didn't know. You ain't know.
I did not.
And we talked a week before. We was talking about something else before you actually called me to start working with us. So what was going on with you when you, what was going on? Hey, Christy, Rutherford here. Have you joined me in my mentorship community yet? And if not, what are you waiting for? If you're not ready for the Vision Finder Masterclass, the mentorship community is going to be valuable to you to get you to the next level. It's only $300 a month. No obligation, no long-term contracts or commitments. You can jump in, figure out whether or not you like us, and then leave if you don't. I think you're going to stay because we're doing some amazing things in this community. It's time for you to dream bigger and get paid what you deserve. You don't have to work harder for it. You don't have to get another degree. You need to take accountability and responsibility for where you are right now and see who you already are. It's not as hard as you're making it. Join us in this community using the link below this video, or go to prpcommunity.com. Join us, get this insight, use it, get paid what you desire and deserve. Take care.
It was a couple things, right? So I had hired a trainer, Joseph J. Lopez, who's amazing. And, you know, just someone who used to attribute my value to how many people were happy with me, just being a people pleaser. You know, when you get into entrepreneurship, you can't please everybody. So even if I had all this success, right, you hear the 98%, there is a 1.5 where sometimes I couldn't do it. Sometimes no matter how hard I tried, I just was not able to be successful. Or some people, they just were touched, you know, and not by an angel, you know. Of course, right when I'm talking to you, my stuff about to die, but I'm just keep talking. And so what would happen is I would literally be so upset when somebody else was upset with me. And so I had a situation with a client, and I think I ended up speaking with you, and I'm like, she said this about me, she said that about me, it's not true. And I mean, I'm like breaking down on the phone, crying with you, and you like, ma'am, we just need to talk about these trademarks. And you ended up talking with me so graciously that day, which I really appreciate. And it was like you sowed a seed. So you didn't have to do it, but you did. And I also realized, as I was working with J. Lopez, that I told him, I feel like I need you to be mean to me. Like I need you to be an enemy so that I can attack this weight loss thing. He's like, what? I'm like, I know it sounds crazy, but like in the past, the reason why I built this 7-figure law firm is because some guy told me I couldn't do it. So I almost like needed a toxic catalyst to start me on the journey, because I'm like, I got to have an enemy. Right. And Christy was like, so you create your own toxic work environment? What in the world? Like you were telling me like people try to leave a toxic work environment. You so bad, you trying to create one. I was like, I didn't think about it like that. And I literally told him, I was like, I feel like I need you to be mean to him. He was like, I can't help you with that, SHIT. Have you heard of Christy? You need to talk to her because I can't do that. I'm not going to be mean to you. And I'm like, oh yeah, she's my client. I actually just talked to her a couple weeks ago. And he was like, yeah, what you have going on? You need to talk with her. There needs to be something happening. And so those circumstances were the thing that made me say, okay, I need to speak with her. I need a coach who is going to help my mindset, because I am holding myself back because I'm so in bondage to what other people are saying or thinking about me. And instead of me, I'm looking at people criticizing my work and equating that to them criticizing my worth. And they're very two different things. And so that was really all the foolishness that was going on at the time. I was a hot mess express. You know it too.
I'm hollering in the background because I know you bad ASS, right? And so when we're on the phone, when I called you for the trademark and you started breaking down about some other stuff,
I know you're like, I ain't call you for that, but okay.
But we ended up talking, I think it was like 30, 45 minutes. I was at a conference in Miami. I ended up walking outside, right? I was like, okay, so apparently she needs a word today. I'm going to bless her with it. But what I realized, Tikora, which is what's common with a lot of women who have external success, you didn't know how great you were. That's why I was shocked. I was like this, okay, so she's one of the baddest chicks in the land. Everybody knows it. She has the awards. You have like, the background. Externally, you're the ish. But you had not internalized it and own how great. I said, this lady don't know how great she is. So let me go ahead and beat in the head right quick, because that's what I do if we just so happen to be on the phone. That's my gift. Yeah. Not expecting anything and just sent you on about your way. Told you about, all right, you should do this for your business, do this, transform this, la, 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 la. And then we were done. And so Jay Lopez, a couple years ago, I had a men's group. I had two men. Jay Lopez went through our program. So he was one of the men who went through our program. So Jay Lopez is my trainer. And so he knows what we do. And so when he was like, you need to call Christy, like, I don't,
He was like, this beyond my pay grade. I can't deal with you. I'm telling you what exercises do, how many crunches. You over here talking about some other stuff.
And it's interesting because you said one lady got nasty with you and you started crying, right? Like, because one lady was just nasty. And I was like, okay. So what was, when you started doing the work and looking in the mirror, what was most shocking to you about you?
Oh.
You ain't got to tell all your business, but, like whatever's available for public consumption over here.
I think the most shocking to me about me was that I was manufacturing self-sabotage within my own company and in my own life, because I felt like this is how I perform well: when I'm under the gun, when I procrastinate, when I'm waiting to the last minute, when there's some type of chaos. And I mean, I didn't think I was that type of person. But until I began to look at my behaviors, that was super shocking for me, that you were like, you're creating your own toxic work environment. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I am the cause and the catalyst and also the cure for the issues that I'm facing. So I think that was revelatory, but also realizing that I was also the cure, not just the cause. That was empowering.
You said manufacturing self-sabotage. Oh God, write that down. I wrote that down right here. So let's break that down a little bit. Like, can you give an example? Because you're successful. You've built a super successful practice, but there's still more, right? And a lot of people always ask Ticora, do I work with entrepreneurs? And I'm like, yeah, because the problems are the same.
Yeah.
The problems are the same whether you're at work. The problems are the same whether you have a business. The problem is you. if people are willing to admit that, right? And so it's easier as an employee to blame your boss. But when you're an entrepreneur, you are your boss. Right. So you said I'm manufacturing self-sabotage. If you were working for a law firm, you would have easily been pointing a finger at everybody else. Mm-hmm. But as an entrepreneur and as an owner of a business and a team, you have to take all the hits, because if people aren't doing right, it's on you.
Absolutely. So I'm just falling on swords every day.
So talk about the self-sabotage. What's an example of, like I would say your trauma default? Like what would happen, and then what would you do to now create like a certain situation?
Yeah, I think what it would be like, oh, I have this thing due. It seems gigantic. It seems too big for me. And so I would wait, and not ask anybody for help. Then I'm scrambling at the last minute, but then getting mad at other people because they can't read my mind. Well, that's not fair. Like, I didn't train them. They don't have the tools. Like, the people at the time in my company, they wanted to help me, but I didn't know how to ask for help, because I'm like, no, I'm going to do it all on my own. Like, that's how this goes. And, as opposed to taking the approach of, can I give people the opportunity to become a more developed leader and support me? So I would just wait to do things on my own. I would not carve out the time to work on the business. I was just focusing on working in the business. And what ended up happening was now I'm losing sleep. I am not getting into bed with my husband when I need to be getting in bed. I'm taking a laptop to bed, right? My bedroom is not my office, but that's how I was treating it. And so those were some of the things that were happening where I might have a day where it's like, oh, you don't have much to do, but why not take advantage of the time and delegate or actually do? So those were some of the things that were happening. And I think it all came back to me creating a toxic work environment that I thought, well, I know when I got this deadline, I can get it done. And I would get it done. And my procrastination was being rewarded. So that's the thing. Like, of course, my procrastination is being rewarded because I'm getting all these accolades. I'm getting all this stuff, but at what cost? So that was pretty revelatory to me. It's like, what happens if you actually do it early? What a novel concept. Wow.
So how did that was good. You dropping some nuggets. I'm gonna take a picture because I ain't got time to type it out and then send it to you. These become your posts. You'd be like,
Thank you.
So you said your procrastination was being rewarded. I talk to women all the time. I just gotta say, procrastination and indecision is at an all-time high. Napoleon Hill said in 1937, procrastination and indecision are the leading causes of failure, right? Like they procrastinate, they don't make a decision. And I always say not making a decision is a decision.
Exactly.
So when you said your procrastination was being rewarded, at what cost? What was that costing you? Right?
The cost was sleepless nights and then clients who are frustrated. So even though I was getting the results, they didn't like it took me so long to get the result. I could have got the result in a fraction of the time. And so it was costing me time with my family, time with my husband, and also potentially how people view me when they trust me. So if somebody comes to me and they trust me with their money, they trust me with their brand, I take that very seriously, but my actions weren't always lining up with taking it very seriously. So I had to really do some internal reflection and ask myself after working with you, like, hey, like, why are you doing this? And I just began to ask myself more questions because just because I'm doing something, it doesn't mean that it's the right thing for me to do. And instead of focusing on like, I don't know who said this, but it's like, you're so focused on trying to make the right decision, just make the next decision right. Just go ahead and do it and make it right along the way. And I just wasn't giving myself enough grace for that to even be something that was an opportunity or a possibility.
Kathy probably said that to you. Kathy was your coach, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So what was your experience with one, the coach, and then two, the group model? Because people ask me all the time, do I do one-on-one? And I'm like, no, because we're lonely. Yeah. I ain't doing it. But what was your experience with Kathy and then your cohort?
Man, it was so amazing. So Kathy was outstanding. She really, she was a really good balance to you because, I'm like, yeah, I need to be cussed out. Let's go. Like, this is awesome. I feel right at home, honestly, because I joke and I tell people my mom is actually an Olympian. She got a gold medal in cussing. She placed first. Okay. So being with you, I'm like, this is home. Okay, let's go. So it didn't bother me at all. I'm like, man, she's up there. Maybe a silver medal. I don't know if you can beat Pam, but you up there on the podium. And so to me, that didn't bother me any. But Kathy was a really great balance of a tenderness, but also holding me accountable, and not even holding me accountable, holding me capable. Right? She knew that I could do it. And she was speaking literally to my heart, speaking to my soul, and speaking to areas and saying, hey, consider it a different way. Have you looked at it through a different lens? And just giving myself the grace and the opportunity to see things a little differently. I just think that I remember when I talked to somebody a long time ago, it was one of my therapists, and I was like, I just don't feel like I have the opportunity. Like I shouldn't be allowed to make any more mistakes. She was like, what? Like I was holding myself to these impossible standards. And so I'm thinking, I can't make a mistake. I have to do everything perfectly. And so because that was my standard, and I'm talking about to the extreme, It was my standard. When I was depressed in undergrad, I almost flunked out. I would set unrealistic goals for myself. And I would say, you have to get all straight A's. You have to attend every single class and have perfect attendance. And then the one day that I wouldn't attend, or I was running behind, I'd say, well, there's no way for you to be able to reach the goal. So why continue to go anyway? It was very extreme. I was not living in the gray. It was like, it's black or white, honey. And so you all basically said, like, this is where you thrive. You thrive in the gray. It's not going to be a black and white life. It's going to be a gray life, in the extent of there's going to be a vacillation to and fro, and allowing yourself the grace to literally just learn along the way. Like, no one person should know everything, and it's impossible and impractical to hold myself to an impossible standard.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. I want to tell you about my resume course, How to Use the Superpower Method to Write an Irresistible Resume to Land You a High-Paying Job. If you can't figure out why you can't get to the next level, if you think that they are barriers to your success, that's not it. If you haven't learned how to adequately take credit for the work that you've done, if you don't know how to articulate it and even give it to a resume writer that you've paid $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to, if you haven't given them the right information, then how can they output something that is of quality and value? So go ahead, get this course. It's less than $50. Get the information, use it, and write an irresistible resume that will get you the salary that you deserve today. So click on the link on around this video, or go to thesuperpowermethod.com. Get it, use it, get paid what you deserve today. Yeah, that's so good. I think it's like you have the grace to unpack your stuff without judgment. Like, nobody's judging you, and we're like guiding you along the way. It's like, are you going to unpack this? Are you going to carry it? And a lot of stuff, Tikora, that women carry, they have no idea that they're carrying it. We can see it all day. Like, we can see it. And now that you're on the other side of it, I want to talk about that a little later. It's like, women are not okay. I talk to women every day. They be like, I'm okay. I be like, please, I don't know what you talking about, what you selling over here. So having the grace to unpack your stuff, having somebody hold you accountable and capable, because we as boss women like to boss everybody. We hold everybody accountable. We don't have anybody holding us accountable to like our goals and our dreams. Right. So what was that experience, like? And then, talk about the group, not necessarily specifically the women, because we won't call names over here, but what was that like to be amongst other women who are just as, ambitious, and seeing that they had some stuff going on too?
It was very comforting to know, like, I'm not alone. And to realize that we all were on our own journeys of self-discovery, and evolution. And I remember the very first time I got on, and you basically told me, like, you're a lioness, and you're attracting lionesses, but now you pretending to be a sheep, and you looking at them like, why'd you bite me? Because they're lions too. And so you were like, you're a lioness, but you're pretending to be a sheep. And there was a visual that you put up, like, of a wolf in sheep's clothing. And so you said, a lioness pretending to be a sheep will never be respected. And I mean, I get chills thinking about it right now. I wrote that down. I'm like, yo, I'm a lioness. Like, I mean, yeah, I might be a little soft-spoken, but there are things that I can do. Like, I don't have to raise my voice to be powerful. I don't have to step outside of who I am to actually just evolve and change. I can be who I am, but also make sure ain't nobody gonna play me, And so that was really, really, really eye-opening, just to see that visual. And also to be affirmed by the other people in the room, when they're like, no, we see that about you. You are powerful. That's, you are. That community was so rich, because we were all on our own separate journeys, but we were doing it collectively. And so it was nice. It was just nice to know, like, somebody has invested at the level I've invested. They know what comes with this. They are dedicated to it, and they are willing to do what it takes to literally change their mind. I had to build new synapses in my brain. So when one thought that used to connect with another thought, I would have to reroute it. And that was just, doing the exercises and being in community and showing up, because I was worth that investment, and I was worth changing and evolving for myself, not for anybody else, not for my husband, not for my kids. It was like, Tikora, you owe you. You deserve this.
Yeah, that's good. I think one of the things that you know, now I remember, you'd be like, oh yeah, I remember. I don't remember cussing you out, but that's highly likely. I mean, trying to stop, I can't help it. So, a lioness pretending to be a sheep will never be respected. So one of the things that will happen with you, which we got to, was if you were defending other people, people knew you were a lioness, right? Like when somebody come for your husband, it's over. Like that was when, you know, claws come out, everybody's gonna die.
Everybody. It's carnage, okay? It's just absolute carnage, okay?
But when it came time to defend yourself, you would fall into a hole and like become a victim. It was like, wait a minute, hold up, go ahead.
It was really bad. It was like, you know, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Like, who you the same person? Like, seriously? And you know, it was one, you know, and I believe in giving great customer service. There was someone who just could not understand. Like, it was so funny because it was like, she fired me, and I believe she had some other extenuating circumstances happening. And she ended up firing me because she was mad that she had to pay more money. But I'm like, here's the contract that you signed. I disclosed to you that you had to pay. She was so mad that she had to pay more money. And she was like, I gave you this evidence. I'm like, there's no evidence of that. Like, I'm looking in my emails. Like, so for me, I'm like, this is what it is in black and white. And so this person would pop up and go away and pop up and go away. And when she would come back, I would literally just fall apart because I'm like, I didn't do anything wrong. There's no making this right with her in her eyes. She wanted me to give her a full refund. I was like, nah, dog, that ain't gonna happen because I did all this work and slavery is over. So, you know, I don't believe in that, you know, after I do the work. And she came back like in the midst of the program. And I just basically told her, I was like, hey, she's like, I'm gonna file a bar complaint. I was like, hey, here's a link. Step 1, go here. Step 2, upload your evidence. Step 3, this is what you do. Like, I'm tired of it. Like, and that's the thing that they scare lawyers with. Somebody's going to file a bar complaint and then you're going to lose your license. And so law school teaches you to catastrophize things. And so if one small thing happens, the next thing you know, you're all the way over here about to jump off a bridge. And I was just like, you know what, lady, here, do what you going to do. I'm not scared. And it literally was so freeing where I was like, hey, just listen. It was almost like what Jesus said to Judas. He was like, do what you're going to do and do it quickly. That's how I was like, yo, do what you're going to do and do it quickly. You know, not calling her Judas, but when you know, she was operating in that spirit. So.
Okay.
Evolving from that, like evolving from not being so tied to what people think of me. There are other things that happen after the fact where I'm like, hey, this is my opinion about this. And normally if somebody combated the opinion, I would just crumble and I would back down. I'm like, no, this is how I feel. You know, I don't care. Like, this is literally how I feel. And so it was almost like rediscovering the voice, but my voice for me. I have a voice for all these other people. And I didn't realize I've been doing this all my life. There was a girl I went to middle school with, and her name is Esther. She was like, you stood up for me in 6th grade when people were picking on me. I'm like, me? I was shy. Like, I did not even speak to people. People spoke to me, I started crying. I'm like, I did that? She was like, yes. I'm like, whoa. So it's always been in me to advocate for other people. But when it comes to advocating for myself, I'm like, well, didn't get on that train, you know, until now.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Wanted to see if you have already joined us in my mentorship community. If not, I'm not sure what else to do, and what are you waiting for? If you're tired of being stuck and overwhelmed, if you're tired of going in circles, if you can't figure out how to get to the next level despite the gazillion degrees that you have and the 15 to 20 years experience that you're walking around with, the untapped, unmonetized intellectual property, it's time to do something different. So get off the fence. Join us in this community. Allow me to mentor you and hold you accountable to the things that you say that you want in your life. Join us in this community. Use the information. Get your money. It's not that hard. $15 million in salary raises since 2020 in some of the toughest economic times. People are winning. Why not you?
This is so good. You got me cracking up. So, let's talk about law school exacerbating your perfectionism, right? And I tell women all the time, Tikora, perfectionism is trauma, right? Like, you know, people think of, you know, childhood trauma or whatever trauma being, you know, your dad was abusive or your mom was doing this. Perfectionism is trauma because you're carrying it as an adult, and life be life and baby. And so you spend all of your time trying to put everything to look perfectly. You look perfectly. The house looks perfectly. And when stuff starts falling apart, you now work overtime to make sure that it doesn't fall apart in the way that it looked. And then law school, you said it teaches you to catastrophize things.
Oh yeah.
And you already have perfectionism as trauma. So now you have to keep the business perfect, right? So what's is, you know, I want to talk about, because it's suffocating. I won't put words in your mouth, but what was that like before? And then what is the revelation and how you experience life now?
Yeah, it was really bad because, you know, because I was depressed in undergrad and I almost flunked out, I always would go back and I would say, if I just wouldn't have gotten depressed, I wouldn't have flunked out. And then I could have gotten into a better law school. And then I would have been respected in the community. Therefore, I wouldn't have to go through the things that I had to go through now. Right. You see how I went from one thought all the way to another whole nother random thought, topsy turvy. But that was what was actually happening in my mind. And because I had to launch my law firm, how I launched it, I had to really just do it because nobody else would give me a chance. And so I would look at it like I've got to be perfect because I didn't go to a top tier law school. I have to be perfect and I have to show people that I am worthy to serve them. And so I had placed this huge burden on myself so that if I deviated, if I failed, it was just I beat up on myself so much about it. And it was very, very, very suffocating because law school does teach you literally to go from one thing to the worst thing. And so, yes, that's a good thing to think as an advocate for other people. But then I began to apply it to myself, you know, or you know, I would be holding one of my babies. Like, I'm like, oh my God, what if I just like trip and I fall over the banister with the baby? It's like, girl, you would have to literally leap over the banister for that to happen. But I began to catastrophize stuff. So it wasn't just with that, it was all these other areas. And then I just began to realize, like, it just, what if whenever something bad happens, or maybe it's just not something that you deemed would be the expected outcome, you go, you explain, you let them know what happened, what you tried to do, and you know, apologize or make it right. But do not allow me to, because my work didn't work out well, to be a criticism of my worth. And so I learned that a criticism of my work is not a criticism of my worth. I'm still worthy. I'm still valuable, right? I'm still powerful despite me not getting this thing right. And then to be able to look at my life, one of the most beautiful things you showed me was when you were on the page and you were like, okay, so it took you 7 years to get your undergraduate degree. And then you went and you did this. And then you went to on the hill. And so you were on the hill in DC. And then you went to law school. And then when you went to law school, you met your husband. And then you guys got married. And this and that. You were like, I want you to know that even though life did all that God redeemed the time. And I mean, man, I was like, wait a minute, we about to shout up in here. Like, wait a minute. I'm like, God redeemed the time. I kept beating up on myself of, it took me 7 years to get a bachelor's degree. Nobody asked me how long it took me to get my bachelor's degree. These people don't care. They're just like, hey, can you file my trademark correctly? Can I depend on you? You know? And God redeemed the time. I still have my husband. I still have my family. I have my home. You know, I have peace. I have joy and I have freedom. Because before this, I sure enough wasn't napping. You know, and most people just, you know, you can't do that. Like they have other things to do. But I'm at the point where I'm like, on the other side, it's just such a refreshing and a freedom. And it doesn't mean that I don't still have those thoughts that come up. It's just now I have the tools to be able to tackle those thoughts so that they don't set up residence in my mind. And it's like, oh, that thought is now, my mind is that thought's playground. And they on the swing set like, wee, you suck. Wee. It's like, no, 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 no. Like, hey, that's not an appropriate thought for me to have about myself. Like, I am a boss. Like, you know, I have the cards and I talk about that. Or the last thing I'll say is like, even the affirmation cards where it says, you know, I go to bed tonight in perfect peace. There's nothing more for me to do. The first time that I read it, I was like, for real? Because it's a long to-do list though. And it was like, no, dummy. Okay. Literally, there's nothing more for you to do for today. You've done well today. Take yourself to bed. So I know that was a lot, but man, how I've changed and how I've moved, it's just a completely different person. Not even a completely different person. You taught me it was always in there. It just had to come out.
2 snaps. So, so a thing about, when I was writing down, but you said it, right? When God redeemed the time, because I didn't go to a top tier law school. Oh, I didn't do this. I mean, you were stuck in the past. I'm looking at like the present moment. I'm like, this chick got all these awards. She has a reputation. She has a successful company. She bougie with her beauty is in the background. Like, so you got money. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have success and you have the husband and the 2 kids and the this, that, or whatever. I'm like, your present mind or your mindset and your reality hasn't caught up with who you are today. And that was the problem. Right. You were living from the brokenness and your past. And I tell people all the time, all I do when we talk about, the raises and the peace and we saving all these marriages and stuff like that, all I'm doing is getting y'all to see who you are.
Right.
But we got the rest of y'all down to the ground to get y'all to do that. Right. Like that's the battle.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, it's like the best, vision check I've ever had is better than going to an ophthalmologist. I'll tell you that much, because boy, when you get up in that program, it's like, okay, you clearly have bifocals on and they are outdated. Okay, so let's adjust your vision of yourself. And so every conversation and interaction begin to focus myself a little bit more. And so it literally is like, oh, I'm finding that is the vision of me. Like I have it. I've like you said, you always correct me because I was like, I wasn't this. You're like, no. It was always in you. It just had to come out of you. And so it's not one of those things where I had to go and search for it like on some sort of weird quest. It was like, no, you have to look within and allow it to be awakened. And not to stifle and suffocate yourself in the process.
Well, I think a part of, I wrote down, all strong women are not loud. Right? Like you're strong. Like I know a lioness when I see one. I be telling women they get in the program thinking that they sheep. I be like, first of all, sheep don't get on my phone. Let's be clear. Ooh. I know a lioness when I see one. Life has taught you, or your family has, in the experiences that you've had, have made you think that you're a sheep.
Yeah.
Or a llama or a goat or whatever. Y'all playing small. Yeah, but I know a lioness when I see one. I know a lioness that is wounded, and I know a lioness who's unaware that she's actually a lioness, because we're here to change the world. We're here to set the game, like on fire. And so the work is to get y'all out of the way of your own way, to set you free, to go and clear the path so you can go be greater for the world. So, when I talk about, I don't know why this thing triggers me on Instagram. It's just interesting. When I talk about alpha women, and all alpha women are not loud, right? An alpha woman is just a woman who's, I think, is just strong. And so you have this presence, but the problem, Tikora, is when you have this soft presence and you're strong, and then if somebody says something to you, you shrink, then you create these scenarios where you're bullyable because you're not going to defend yourself, right? And you're not going to speak up. But if it's somebody else, it's game over. So what's the difference now in, and I don't know, I think you said it, but whenever you having these managing conflict situations or, tough conversations, what's the difference between the way you manage yourself now and the way you used to manage yourself?
Before it was, oh my gosh, somebody's criticizing me. They're saying they didn't enjoy it, blah, 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 blah. Now catastrophize. Now I'm not smart. Now I'm not prepared. Now I'm incapable, and it was all these these attacks on my own self, right? Which is an offense to God, really. And so now, like I had a conversation with a client a couple of days ago. She was like, hey, I had a good experience with this. I didn't have the best experience with that. And I sat there, I listened to her, I owned it. I said, you know what? I understand. I'm in the process of fixing stuff, elevating it, but I completely and totally take full ownership, even over my team, because I didn't train them properly. If you give me the chance to continue to serve you, I want to show you how I can get it better. I want to show you how I can do it better. And she said, yes, of course, I appreciate the fact that we could have this conversation. And so it wasn't a conversation of, wow, now you need to go cry in a corner and rock in a fetal position, like, oh, woe is me, now I got to call Christy. No, it was like, all right, what she said was valid. Okay. And now feedback is a gift. So I'm looking at it now as a gift. Feedback is a gift. It's not something that's bad for me. It's good for me. Because but for her telling me this, I wouldn't know that there are certain things that I needed to improve. Nobody's going to be more honest with you than somebody who's not the happiest with you or they're upset with you. They could be like, and your breath stank, and you got toe fungus, and another thing, this, and that. And I don't like your voice. But that, you see what I'm saying? Like, feedback is a gift. And so I'm like, wow, I don't want to disappoint anybody, but man, they will tell me the things that I need to hear so I can improve my business. Because everybody else is like, it's great. It's amazing. This is fantastic. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm happy that we're doing a great job here. But then there's other areas of improvement. So now I look at feedback as a gift. I'm like, thank you, God. Somebody told me what I needed to hear so I can improve. I don't have to wonder. They literally told me what would make it better. And I began to, now I'm at a point where I'm like in a posture where I'm like, what could make it better? What would have been better for you? What would you have preferred? Oh, it would have been great if this happened and that happened. Oh, and I don't have a problem with this. It's just that I didn't have a video tutorial. If you could do, it was such rich feedback on the call. It started out slightly uncomfortable because, you have to put yourself in a position of being humble, but that doesn't mean that I have to stay there. Just like, okay, let me get this feedback. It's a gift. And I appreciate the gift that I got today.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. I hope that you're enjoying this podcast so far. While you're here, go ahead and get my free gift to you, the Pay Gap Calculator. In this 15 to 20 minute video, I'm going to be sharing with you insights so you can see how does your pay measure up to what they're paying in the market. Are you on par? Are you being severely underpaid, or are you being overpaid so you should be satisfied? If you want to take the mystery out of, does your pay compare to what others are making, go ahead and get this information by going to thepaygapcalculator.com, or you can text PAYGAP to 66866. Again, PAYGAP to 66866. Get this insight, use it, and take the mystery out of what you should be getting paid today. Enjoy the podcast.
That's good. All right. What advice do you have for women who are struggling with their worthiness? There was a woman who asked the question. She said, worthy or worthlessness? Is there a real difference?
Well, I mean, I think if you're struggling in that area, one, you have to identify the source, because sometimes, it's like, where did that come from? Because somebody had to plant a seed, and that person had to have some type of authority to plant a seed in your life. And so that might have been your parents. It could have been a teacher. It could have been a friend, but they weren't trespassing when they planted the seed of unworthiness. But you have to allow yourself to then transition and say, well, am I going to allow this feeling that doesn't belong to me? It's not a part of my legacy. It's not who I am. Am I going to allow this to continue to take a harvest year after year? Or are you going to become a gardener and say, okay, I got to uproot some stuff. I'm going to pull these weeds out, and then I'm going to plant new seeds, because you just can't have the weeds pulled up of unworthiness and not replace it with something else. Otherwise, other things are just going to come back and take residence in that space. And so if you're struggling in that regard, I would say going and asking yourself simple questions like, why am I doing this? I would just ask myself certain questions like, why am I responding this way? Like, why am I procrastinating? Why am I waiting till the last minute to do stuff? Like, why am I doing that? And just because I began to literally just not even critique myself. I just had interrogatories for myself and questions for myself that really began to put me on a journey of awareness. Some of us aren't even aware of what's going on. You're not aware of how great you are, nor are you aware of the things that are holding you back, because you're not brave enough to ask the questions, nor are you brave enough to say, I need to make an investment. I need to connect with someone who can literally help me, who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt and a postcard. So, yeah.
How has this experience changed the dynamics in your house with the interaction between your husband and your kids?
It's been really, really good. I think part of the motivation too was just having a daughter. I do have a son and a daughter, but she emulates everything that I do. She wants to just do what I do. And I began to think, what am I going to teach her if I don't really become who I need to become? I don't need her to be hard on myself, and she is, and I have to give her the grace. I'm like, "Where did she get that from? Why is she so hard on herself?" You know? And, I'm like, "Oh, it's you." Like, she was doing some art, and drawing some rainbows, and she was getting upset because it didn't turn out the way she wanted. She wanted a brand new paper, and I said to her, I said, some artists, they take days and weeks and months to work on a piece of art. They don't just finish in one go. She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, you don't have to finish in one time." But that's how I was. I'm like, I got to get this done now. I'm going to exhaust myself. I'm going to stay up. And they see those things, even if you aren't necessarily communicating it. And so she actually worked on this it was a stop sign that goes on her door that we have to use a password to get in. She worked on it for over like 2 or 3 days. So that was really cool. So I'm sleeping so much better. I really, really am. I was sleeping so terribly before. I just was not winding down because I kept feeling like I got to keep going and going and going. I have so much more balance. And my household actually runs so much better because I am getting the rest that I need. And I'm doing it for me. I'm not doing it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it for your family. But for me, I'm like, I'm doing this for me. Like, I want to be better for me. And so all of that has literally changed. The money is flowing like it's never flowed before. And I think I'm attracting the right type of people to me. And I'm rejecting and repelling the wrong folks because I ain't got time for no foolishness. And I'll tell people that up front. And I'm so quick to, hey, this isn't going to be a good fit. Let me give you a refund when I discern that it's the right thing to do. So overall, my family is better. But the fact that I'm getting so much better rest, I lost weight because I would kept being 165. And I was like, "Okay, I'm working out." It's like I kept holding on to the weight, and it's because I wasn't sleeping. And so now I'm in the 150s, I gotta make my way to the 140s. But it was just like I kept getting stuck in that space because I wasn't getting rest, and I need the rest. It's not a reward, it's a requirement.
Yeah, I got two more questions. I talked to these women in December, brilliant women, and I gave them the recipe. The recipe ain't that hard, Tikora. I was like, okay, meditate 3 times a week for 5 minutes, work out 3 times a week for 30 minutes, and get 8 hours of sleep 3 nights a week. They went crazy when I said sleep. Oh, they were, oh God, oh, I can't believe you. And I'm like, some of y'all can say y'all marriages, y'all got some sleep, right? Like, some of y'all would actually have the presence of mind to see what your kids are doing if y'all got some sleep. Because yeah, it's I always say kids don't do what you say, they do what you're doing.
That part. They do what you do. They do what you do. Absolutely. Yes. I love that you told them that because just getting more rest. And then also I would, even with the working out, I'm like, I'm gonna work out every single day. It's like, dude, like, why? Just chill out. If you do it 2, 3 times a week, congratulations. You ain't got to, because you know what? I'll work out 2 days in a row. And then my body is like, whoa, we're gonna sleep in. And I'm like, dang, I didn't wake up. It's because my body needed it. My body didn't need to get up and work out. And you need those rest days anyway for your muscles. So I'm like, I don't have to sit up here and beat up on myself because that wasn't perfect. Just start back where you left off and then just keep going.
It was interesting. When I invited you to the inner circle call and you told everybody how great you were, I was like, my God, you said that VFM be working, baby. So what's the Tikora got on the line and say, I'm the greatest at what I do? Pretty much. Nobody does it better. I have been the Inc. 500 or the Lawyers 500, la, 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 la. And I was sitting in the background smiling with joy because you let us have it. You told us exactly who you were without flinching.
Yeah.
You didn't shrink. You said it with like, hey, because I think a problem that a lot of women have is, one, you don't own your shine, right? Because you're trying to be humble. You're like, oh, what did I name this? Are you confusing
Humility
with playing small? No, that ain't it. No, it was let go of humility and own your power.
Yeah.
Because you were humble. I was like, man, just be who you are. So what advice do you have for women who are confusing humility, with playing small and do we need permission from other people to own our power? Is it just available to us all the time?
It's available to us all the time. We don't have to ask for permission. But what happens though is that when you begin to evolve and know who you are, other people are not gonna like it because you are convicting them because they realize, wow, this person is evolving and I'm not. So now they have a problem with the fact of who you are because they're comparing it with who they think they are because they don't even realize how great they are either. And, if we would not, I remember I was battling with comparison with other attorneys. And I was like, God, why is it that this person seems to have this following and this is happening with them? I don't know why I'm comparing myself. He said, you comparing yourself because you ain't clear. Boy, I was like, okay, so you was going to punch me in my jaw? Okay, that's fine. So because I wasn't clear about who I was, my legacy, what I wanted to leave in the earth, I began to compare myself with these man-made metrics against other people. And it's like, hold on. No, that's definitely not the barometer I should be measuring myself with because God has spoken to them, presumably, or they've spoken to themselves about what they need to do and they're moving forward with boldness. That's available to me too. I just have to activate and allow who I am to emerge. And so, me no longer comparing myself to other people or when it happens, I'm like, hold on now. You must have forgot who you were. Yeah, you didn't go to the best law school on paper, but girl, you one of the top trademark attorneys in the country. Girl, you literally built a business from your bedroom closet with a baby on your hip an additional $300. Girl, you have a 98% success rate. And I taught myself how to do trademarks. I started and I did the first ones myself. And then I went out and I was aggressive and I began to seek out courses. So it's like you have this natural drive, this energy, this hunger in you. And you have the audacity to compare yourself with somebody else and you don't know what their journey is. Girl, you better go back and fact check. Like, oh, wait a minute. It's fact check yourself. Like, was that you in the closet? Yes. Was that you who was on VH1? Yes. Was that you who was contacted by Facebook and they did a documentary on your law firm? Yes. What? Okay, because for a minute there, I thought you were comparing yourself to somebody else, and there's no competition. It's just clarity.
Hey, Christy Rutherford here. Have you joined me on my mentorship community? And if not, what are you waiting for? According to a Bain study, 90% of women who got to the executive level had sponsors and mentors. And if you don't have a mentor, how do you expect to get to the next level? In this community, not only do I have my signature resume course and my course, 7 Keys to Getting the Raise, Bonus, or Promotion That You Desire and Deserve, I show up and answer your questions live. So if you want to get to the next level in your career, if you're ready to stop procrastinating and get things done, join us in this community. It's only $2.99 a month. Go to the link prpmentor.com or use the link on around this video. I can't wait to see you on the inside and answer your questions and get you to your next level of success. Take care. Oh, that's good. That's so good. Because you talked about that law school forever. I'm just because you've brought it up, but it was such a part of your story. Yeah. Of why you didn't feel good enough. That top tier law school thing, I was like, this chick don't see nothing that she's created today, right? Like, I mean, we can go on and on and on. We can read your bio for an hour, and you are still anchored into what law school you didn't graduate from.
Right. It doesn't matter. I got my JD. I'm a licensed attorney. I do amazing work. Everybody's just happy that I'm their attorney. Like, let me just honor that. Let me honor the choosing of other people. Let me just believe that they've made a right choice, that it wasn't like a mistake. Like, oh man, they're thousands of people just really messed up. Wow. Yeah. It's just not statistically possible.
What advice? I got 2 more questions. I'm gonna drag it out. I know you got a call. So people will be like, Christy, oh my God, you're so confident. I'll be like, I'm not confident. I'm just aware. There's a difference. I am aware that I'm the greatest in the land, the finest in the land. Have you synced me? Right? Like I'm like, natural hair don't care. But it's like I am aware of who I am down to the cellular level. So you're not easily manipulated when you're clear on who you are, what the vision is, why you're here, the perfection that God created in the rubble from the past, right? Because everybody got something. So what advice do you have for women who are looking outside for happiness? And if I had this, then I'll be more confident. If I had this job, I'll be more whatever. What advice do you have for women who are in this delayed gratification?
Stop moving the goalposts. You're just going to keep erecting new barriers for yourself to um, overcome. And then when you overcome the barrier, you're not even going to acknowledge it. I'm like, did I really stop and celebrate when I filed my first 100 trademarks or first 1,000, first 500? Or did I keep saying, I got to keep going, I got to keep going because it's not enough? And so if we consistently move that goalpost, we're never going to be happy. We're never going to be satisfied. We're always going to be seeking out more. And we're honestly just going to miss out on the beauty that is life. It's wonderful that there's accolades and awards. But there's so much more to life, like friends and family in your church and, who you are and your legacy that you leave in the world. And so if anybody's in a position where they keep doing that, I would just invite you to just that when you accomplish that goal or look back at what you have accomplished and celebrate yourself. Christy had me pull out my awards. She had me pull out all these things. I'm like, well, dang, they was just in the box. All of these awards were in the box, all of the plaques. And I'm like, okay, I got to find room for this stuff. And I had to actually look at it daily and be like, you did this. This is not a fluke. This is not a mistake. They didn't accidentally give this to you. No, you earned this and you own it. It's who you are. And so I think you have to remind yourself of your track record with God. When you start to do stuff like that, you start realizing, like, oh, my creator doesn't play about me.
All right, last question. What advice do you have for women who are on the fence or they're interested in working with us over here at Vision Finder Internationale?
Do it asexually. That's my unit of measurement. Asexually. If you're on the fence, you have to ask yourself, why are you sitting there with one leg on, one leg off, and you're straddling between two wars? You got to pick a side. So are you going to pick the side of your greater self? Like, when actually not even your greater self, the true you of who you really are, and pursue it? Are you just going to continue to live beneath your purpose and beneath who you were? I think that for me, I just got to a point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was tired of attracting people into my life that would manipulate my kindness, that I would allow them to manipulate me because I had this spiritual gift of grace and mercy. So I would sometimes attract people who are manipulative in nature because I'm nice and I'll tell them what they think they want to hear. But then the moment that I tell them the truth, it's like, how dare you? You told me the truth about myself. Go ahead and make the investment in yourself to awaken and become who you really are. For me, I just got to a point where I said, I can no longer go on like this. Something is not right, and I need to make it right. And you know what? I've tried it on my own. I've definitely tried various things, but there's still something inside of me that is broken. And it doesn't even mean that I need to have outside things fix me. It's from the brokenness inside, it had to be mended from within. And then I was able to really just walk in who I am and own it. And not just own it, but believe it. I believe it. And you can't tell me anything else. You can't tell me that I'm not great. You can't tell me that I'm not bold. You can't tell me that I'm not bad. You can't tell me that I'm not smart and capable. You can't tell me that I'm not an amazing businesswoman. You can't tell me that God favored you. You cannot tell me that God favors me. And all those people who went to the top tier law schools, they come to me and they're asking me questions. How'd you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, wait a minute. I was thinking that was going to be the key differentiator. No, the thing that I thought was disqualifying me actually qualified me. That was the thing that God was going to use. So guess what? He can get the glory because nobody else can take credit, because it's a miracle to say, wait a minute, you didn't have any experience in law. You began to work out of your closet. Now you're one of the top trademark attorneys in the country. Now you're training other people. Now you're moving into licensing and certifications and contracts. And you didn't even have another supervising attorney like other people. No, because God was my supervising attorney. It's a miracle. So when people look at me, they say, wow, the hand of God is on her. And if I make a mistake, the hand of God is still on me. It ain't like he took it off momentarily because I made a mistake, because his power is made perfect in my weakness. So for me, knowing that I'm weak in an area, I knew that God's power could be made perfect in me if I did the work to emerge and find out who I am and then claim it and believe it. So there's that.
I mean, if y'all ain't just listened to Ticora tell y'all that she was the greatest in the land, I don't know if y'all heard it. She just told y'all she the best to ever do it. So Ticora, before we, Monica's on the line. God is the best supervisor. So how do people, if they want to work with you, reach out to you? And then what services do you offer? Because we've just expanded our portfolio offering with Ticora. We'd be like, all right, fine, take my money, go on and be my business lawyer too. We need help over here. But what services do you offer? And if people want to work with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so if you go to creatorslawfirm.com, again, it is creators with
I
an
just
A.
put that in the link. Yeah.
Thank you. Lawfirm.com, and you click the work with us button. You can then submit. So we provide support to people in the variety of the following ways: trademark registration and defense. We help people with copyright registration and defense. We are responding to a lot of cease and desist letters that some people may get erroneously. Contract drafting. These are business agreements or even licensing and certification agreements. And then we also have people who have us on retainer. So we get to build a relationship with folks over time. And so those are the different ways and facets in which you can work with us. If you are an individual who wants to build a relationship with an attorney, and you recognize the value of having somebody as legal counsel who is powerful, who also has an entrepreneurial insight, then you would want to work with me. If you do not value that, then please leave me alone, because it won't be a good fit. Okay. And then you'll be upset. Okay. So I want you to, God bless you and keep you is my prayer. But if you're like, hey, I'm in alignment with that, then go to creatorslawfirm.com, submit the work with us form, and then get some time on my calendar. So yeah.
You got me rolling over here. I'm gonna watch this interview again, because your is not necessarily, Ticora, the transformation as much as it is just the awareness of who you already were. Like, this is who I saw when I talked to you. Now, when we was talking a little bit longer, I was like this. Okay, so she don't see none of this.
I'm legally blind. Yes, I did not see nothing.
We gonna pull it out. She gonna be like this. You gonna do the work. We'll get it out. We gonna let her see who she is. And when you worked with us last year, so it wasn't even like,
no, yeah, it didn't take much. It was just the consistency and the clarity that came through the program, and then just me showing up and doing the work. Like, it's not fair to say, well, Christy, you're supposed to wave a magic wand, and then I'm going to come out of my chrysalis and be a beautiful butterfly. No, that's not how that goes. Because in order for a butterfly to emerge, it has to fight its way out of the cocoon. Mm-hmm. And if you don't fight your way out of that cocoon, then the butterfly won't even have strength to fly. Like, when people open it up too soon, the butterfly will just continue to live its life crawling on the ground. And so that is really the perfect depiction of what this program was. Like, I was a butterfly and I was in this chrysalis, and I was literally saying, okay, I need to grow. And I began to get nutrients and insight and awareness of who I was. And then when it was time for me to come out, oh, baby, I came out. And now I'm flying all over the place. Y'all better see me all over the place, because of the power of this program. And her walking and Christy choosing to walk in her purpose, because her obedience is tied to so many other people's freedom. And so I knew that there was a connection there. She had a key to unlock my destiny. She don't have all the keys. She just had a major key, and that was a key to my mind, unlocking certain places in my mind. And so, baby, she a locksmith. She just came in and she just broke it open. I mean, sometimes she'll be delicate and gentle, and sometimes she's using clamps and stuff to get it off. But either way, you're going to get free if you do the work.
Well, I appreciate you for showing up, sharing your insight. And yeah, y'all work with Ticora. I got 4, and then we got her on retainer. Be like, Ticora, I don't need that. And then after we talk, you be like, oh, okay, I need that. Go on and give me the premium package. I'm gonna need that too. We need help over here. So, all right. Well, y'all have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Don't hang up, Ticora. Bye, y'all. Have a good weekend. Thank you so much for joining us today. Your support is greatly appreciated. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. What I want you to ponder on this week: what is your greatest takeaway from this episode, and what is one action you're going to take to change your life for the better?
Lastly, get your pay gap calculator to see how your pay compares to the market value of what others are getting paid. Text pay gap, all one word, to 66866. Again, pay gap to 66866, or use the link below this video or podcast. Get this insight, use it, and get paid what you desire and deserve. See you in the next episode.